asking, do you ever feel the same? Well, maybe we could change, turn the ship another way.
Hello and welcome to the Liz Experiment YouTube channel. This is the channel where I record field notes from my journey trying to architect my best life. I am coming to you from my very first day in Warsaw, Poland, where I am house sitting for dear friends who are going on a trip to Indonesia, and they have a Jack Russell Terrier named Jack who needs a friend. I am that friend. I'm feeling a little guilty because I just kicked Jack out of the room so that he wasn't jumping up and down to go after a tennis ball during the video. So if you hear some like thumping on the door, it's just Jack. He's fine. It's gonna be fine. So let's get into it. What did I learn this week and what was I working on this week? So the first thing I wanted to point out is I just learned on a walk with the homeowner and Jack that Warsaw is not really too much of a tourist city. So that's interesting to note because I'll be living here for the next 3 weeks and probably won't be doing much tourism, but now I don't feel as much pressure. So that's actually a very good thing. What else did I learn this week? So during the past week, I just got to Warsaw today. I was in Budapest for the previous week, if you recall from last week's video. And I also had this week off from work. So I was in Budapest, off from work. I'm still off from work, and it's been awesome. And one of the first things I learned this week is that I want to take time off from work more often. We hear time and time again that taking time off actually makes you more productive, and I'm a firm believer in that. And I want it to be such that when I do have time off, I don't have to pressure myself to fit so much in that I can't usually do when I'm working. I'd like to have more creativity and mobility with that. So more on that and what I'm working on this week. The second thing I learned this week was how much I enjoy Budapest. It wasn't gray when I went back this time. I did a bunch more research and my friend was off from work a little bit, so she had a little bit more time as well. And we got to do so many different things that I recognized I really enjoyed being there. But I also learned that it's really hard being a country where the language is completely foreign to me. And I think I'm going to be feeling a bit of that while I'm here in Poland. But hey, it's part of the journey, right? The third thing that I learned this week is that it's on me to make my life. And what I mean by that is I feel like a lot of us get stuck in the blame game. And you've heard that before, I'm sure, where it's, I'm not doing this because so-and-so is holding me back, or I'm not progressing until I can't progress until I'm no longer with so-and-so. I learned this week that, you know what? It's on nobody but me. So more on that. I did a lot of work on that, at least internal work. And then the last thing I learned this week was, this I didn't learn as much as remembered, is, what, sometimes you got to do the hard work. And then if you still haven't made headway, you have to give it up to the universe and listen to the wind. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about how I worked on each of those now so that it's not so nebulous. So on the taking time off front. So one of the things I worked on this week, one was just being off from work. And relaxing and having fun with my friend and being in a new city or a city I hadn't spent too much time in. And the other thing I worked on was really researching. I started reading a book, Free to Focus, by Michael Hyatt, and I'll provide a link to that. But researching his main part of his main thesis is that he's drawing on research that points to the fact that the more you work doesn't mean better work you do. It usually, if you hit a certain point, your quality of work decreases rather than increases with your time put in. And so I really looked into researching this fact for myself and thinking about ways that my business partner and I can take more time off so that we can actually be more productive. So I'll fill you guys in on that as I learn more, but that was a fun thing to research and kind of get my head around. The other thing that I really worked on this week, especially while I was just learning how much I loved Budapest, was letting go and being present and just enjoying the moment, even when I had no idea what was going on, because I haven't the slightest idea how to speak in Hungarian. You know what? It's going to be all right. If you don't know what's going on for 10 minutes, you're going to be okay. Or a week in my case. I'm lucky enough where things are going to work out just fine. But to the bigger points, specifically about making my life, one of the huge things I worked on this week was asking myself continuously, what makes me happy? Is this moment making me happy? There's something about this moment feeling right or wrong. What would make this moment better? And then acting on the answer to that question. If the moment does make me happy, just noting that. If it doesn't, what could make it better? And changing it. So I really worked on that. I worked on being myself and also not putting on a facade for others. So I've been working, and I know a lot of you out there do this. A lot of us, especially women, do this. I don't want to say that, but a lot of my women friends do this. But I know men do this as well. We work to make others happy, and I've been doing that my whole life. I put on this facade to try to build people up and try to make them better, and the facade isn't necessary. Instead I really worked on being more assertive and not trying to make others happy, but trying to make myself happy. Because by making myself happy, other people it'll be on them to take care of themselves. It actually is on them anyway, whether I make myself happy or not. So one of the ways I worked on this was just going my own way, making decisions, speaking up when something didn't agree with me. And I know the people around me appreciate that more than me faking it or trying to make them happy or try to feed their ego or whatever I'm trying to do to fit in and be a part of something. So yeah, I really worked on standing up for myself, for my beliefs, and what was going to make my life experience here on Earth better. And that was an awesome thing to work on. I'm trying to think of examples of that, but I guess just when you're in a foreign city and you're traveling with a friend and just saying, you know what, I don't want this for dinner. How about this? Or, you know what, you go ahead. I feel like I'm going to go back to the apartment and do some work or whatever, but not being afraid to be the dissonant voice in the room and just to be myself. So really, really worked hard on that this week. And the other thing I mentioned in the what I learned section was, or what I remembered, was to give it up to the universe and to follow the wind. So as an example, one of the things I was doing this week was trying to figure out what happens after I finish my next house sit in the middle of October, and I don't have a plan for where I'm going to live. And that can be anxiety provoking, but it's only anxiety provoking if I don't believe in my ability to find a place to live. And I'm lucky enough to have that privilege. I totally recognize that. So what I did instead of, what I tried to do is, I want to say I did internally freak out a bit, but then what I did is I did the research into some places I was thinking about. I got myself to a certain point. I put the work in. And when I wasn't yet getting like a clear results, one that wasn't based off like panic of just choosing something, I said, you know what, let me set this aside. Universe, help me out. Give me a sign. Tell me which way to go. And as soon as I gave it up to the universe, about 2 hours later, I got a voice message from a friend who was offering for me to stay at her Airbnb at a discounted rate in an area of the US that I've always wanted to see more of. So, it really was about getting the work that I needed to do, putting the effort and the intention in, and then just saying, you know what, I've done my part. I can't yet see what's in front of me. Universe, help me out. Another funny example about this was I was thinking about taking Spanish classes again, and actually a friend of mine gave me a link to some online Spanish lessons that she does, which I think I really want to try, but I haven't yet tried them because I don't know how much time I'm going to be staying in a Spanish-speaking place, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to use my investment as much as I could, I guess. And so when I arrived in Warsaw today, I didn't realize that one of the homeowners teaches Spanish. And so actually I'm looking at my clock because in about 45 minutes, she's taking me to Spanish class with her, and I'm going to get to practice my Spanish and learn some Spanish. So it was kind of like I was thinking about taking lessons. I did the research. I got a really good resource from a friend that I still am thinking about taking advantage of course. But I also gave it up to the universe and said, show me a sign. Help me out here. And boom, Spanish classes come right to me. So those were, I don't know, that one, those last two about being myself and working at being myself and then just giving it up to the universe, I think are one of the biggest structures, two of the biggest structures needed for architecting your best life. And so I'm just really excited about those, and you can see I'm kind of beaming from ear to ear. So that's it for this week. Next week, I'll still be here in Warsaw, and I'll still be hanging out with Jack. My friends won't be here anymore because they'll be on their awesome trip, but I'm sure, I know that's great. So no big deal there. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up and let me know. If you didn't like it, let me know as well. I'd love to hear what you guys think in the comments. I really would love to hear about, like, how do you define yourself and how do you set your own boundaries and how do you make sure not to forget about yourself, but instead to lead with your own awesomeness. And also, if you have examples of following the wind or listening to the universe or any of that, I love those stories. They're so inspiring. So please leave any of that in the comments. If you want to get these updates in your inbox or in your YouTube thingy every week, please subscribe. It lets me know that what I'm doing is helping at least some people. So I would be forever grateful in that regard. And I guess until next week, thanks for watching.
Signs.